Davies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Myanmar goal.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the VAW pod, the Vic Akers Wonderland podcast. Sadly, tonight, I'm in the hosting chair again. The lovely Lottie couldn't make it for this one. So it is just myself, Adam, and the magnificent Matt in a different hat again. I'm loving this new rotating wardrobe of hats, Matt. Which one's this you've gone for tonight?
This one's my winter hat, so
winter is coming.
Yes, it's just the maroon one from a couple of years ago that we had in the winter. I can't even remember when we had the nice, the minty Arsenal jumper we had a couple of this season.
Yes. Yeah,
we had a brown one, similar style, and it's basically matches that. No,
it's a nice addition. I mean, I've got a woolly sort of winter's Arsenal hat myself. Unfortunately, I discovered it's actually a bit too small for me now, but a nice addition nonetheless. So yes, no, good choice. It was I suppose I remember when I was going to the game, and we're going to get into the game, but when we was going to the game, there was a lot of panic on the social media that the weather, because the weather sadly is turning, might even prevent the game from even happening. There was rumours of flooding on the motorway, etc. But thankfully, the weather managed to hold off for us, and we were treated to what I thought was quite a good game at Emirates Stadium between Arsenal and Manchester City, kicking off our WSL campaign. And that's where we're going to go. We're going to go straight into it. So, Matt, you're obviously watching this at home on the TV. I was lucky enough to be in the stadium. And I must admit, it was a cracking start to the season, cracking atmosphere to begin with. We had the brass band playing in the concourse, which is always nice, with the fan marches going for the tunnels. Some of the clips you may have seen on social media. There's some classic chants, but also some new ones, which is great to hear. Team news came in, Matt. A few changes from the game against BK Häcken. Obviously, a game we sadly lost, and so we very much need a response. So Manu obviously in goal, as we always expect, but interesting, no Leah Williamson. Did you catch why this might have been?
Apparently, this was down to concussion protocol. I must have missed this when I watched the game against Häcken, and apparently there was a concussion, so that's why she wasn't part of the squad. So when I made that first, the defenders, I was thinking that Leah was available. Obviously, with the concussion protocols, you have to stay. If you're not available for the next 10 days.
It was a strange one, because obviously not only was she not in the team, she's not even on the bench, and so there's a few confused looks looking around trying to think,
she'll be in the stands.
Yeah, she'll be in the stands, but what tactical plan is this? Because no offense, obviously the likes of Lyra and Lotto, I think on the day did pretty okay. You want to see Leah Williamson in your defence, and as you say, it was concussion protocol. Don't know if it's something that happened in the BK Häcken game. Obviously, in the BK Häcken game, she came off the bench quite sort of late on. I think it was just after they'd scored late on. The BK Häcken did. So maybe it happened in those last few minutes, maybe it happened in training. It is a strange one, because in his press conference, Jonas did say that Leah would be available. And the fact that she was actually absent in the BK Häcken game was, well, you wouldn't say why, but it was sort of hinted that it might have been an injury issue. And of course, now I don't know if she'll even be available for the home leg, which is obviously a very crucial game, and we need to try and put our best team out there to make sure we get over the line there. So hopefully she makes a recovery from concussion and is fit for the BK Häcken game, or even the Leicester game. But on the day, it was Lotta and Cody in the back line. Also, Ford was back in for Beth Mead. Surprised or expected?
I think that yes, mainly because the way Beth played was very un-Beth, and by that I mean she's usually very aggressive in the press. She's aggressive going forward. She's creating chances. Against Häcken, it just felt she was. I don't know if I would say she was trying to do too much or she was trying to do little. It was just.
She had a
I
header.
think she.
She had a header that was really well saved. We should say she had a really, she had probably one of the best chances and was a bit unlucky. But I do agree. You're with Beth. You're expecting maybe a bit more, and Hecken seemed to have was able to neutralise her quite well on that night.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was Jonas's thinking, was the fact that, okay, you need a rest.
Yeah.
If you can see that you're doing too much or you're trying and it's not coming off, then it does usually mean, you need to come on. You'll sit on the bench for this one, but you'll be available for the next one.
Absolutely. And what I'm liking this season is we can drop's not the right word. We can rotate. Sorry, we can rotate Beth Mead out of the team. We're not having to play her in every game because she's the only right winger we feel confident enough to play with. We've made a decision now that Ford is going to be the alternative option on the right by the sounds of things. And I think out of the two, Mead is a better option, but I think having Ford there is perfectly adequate for what we need to do there. And it means, you say, we can give Beth Mead some rest. The other one, which is a bit more interesting, was the fact that Russo, who started against BK, has pretty much started all the games throughout pre-season and through the qualifiers, was benched, and Stina Blackstenius instead started the line. Now, we know Stina has quite a good goal record against Manchester City, scored against them obviously in the League Cup a few seasons ago, and scored home and away against them in the WSL, getting the late winners in both occasions. I would have expected her to come off the bench because that's how she was so effective in those league games, but she started this one. Were you surprised, Matt, with that one as well, or do you think that was a good call?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, it was down to a heavy rotation. I think maybe Hacken showed their cards, and that's what made Jonas be forced to rotate for this game. The fact that Stina hadn't really had those sort of minutes that Alessia had, I think that sort of you could tell was a bit of an issue. It wasn't like the fact that Stina had been. She wasn't being. This isn't when it was a couple of years ago. We've got no other striker. Stina has to play every minute.
Yeah.
This is just. Look, you're gonna have to win it. You're gonna try something new. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I mean, we'll get into the specifics of what happened with Stina in the game because I think there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of question marks as well. I think what you're seeing is potentially the issue is she came into preseason with an injury, which meant we couldn't use a lot of those games in America and again the qualifiers to use Stina more to build those minutes up. I think in the preseason friendly against Southampton, I think she played like 10 or 20 minutes of a second half and then was immediately subbed off again. And it was, I think Jonas saying, we're just giving her minutes to get back up to full fitness. And I think maybe you're seeing with Stina, as we're getting to, especially in sort of the first half, some of those moments you think if she was fully up to speed and fit and firing, you'd maybe back her to score at least one of those chances, which, we're jumping at a bit, but we'll get to. As it was, Stina did start the game. And what I did like about the decision was that it meant that we got that Stina-Frida combination because we know, and I wish Jonas would stick by this, we know that the best player Frida combines with out of Stina and Russo is Stina. The two of them work in tandem so very well, and it worked so well in this game, especially for the first goal. But before that, there was a real scare in the ground, and that was Viv trying a very ambitious effort from quite far out. Now, it was Manchester City, as we know, they like to press high. We've seen it happen all the time. They like to try and press high, really squeeze the life out of the opposing team, and basically push the possession into the opposition half, so they can't play out. So they'll go long. Man City will just pick off the balls in the halfway line. They'll try and play out. The high press will turn the ball over. They camp the opposition in. They camp them in. They force the errors, and they create the goals. And barely anybody in the WSL can deal with that. And Arsenal were trying to be brave and trying to play out. The ball came to Kim Little in the midfield, and I think it was Kim on the ball that Viv robbed. Storm forward. Manu was obviously, she's pushed forward. She's trying to play out, and she has to go from, I think it wasn't the halfway line, but it's like just beyond the D. It was quite far out. When she took that strike, Matt, did you think she'd scored?
I thought she had, and I think what probably sold it was the fact that Manu's reaction was she was running halfway back to her goal, and she didn't even reach for it or anything. She just went, well, if that's in, that's in, that's it.
Yeah.
A sensible goalkeeping, because you can have some fans going, well, why didn't she die for it? Well, apart from injuring yourself, and
Yeah.
you don't know where you are. If you're positioning, you're backpedaling, you have no you're expecting probably either a chip or not for it to go as wide as it did, and I think she's about a foot away from scoring. And
It's very close. It was very close, and certainly it was one of those sort of hold your breath moments in the stadium where you're just waiting for that net to bulge and Viv, the narrative, Viv coming back scoring, against Arsenal, as everyone said, would happen. I actually think, though, in this instance, I think Viv makes a mistake. I think she can take that ball closer. I think she's obviously tried to take the shot early to catch the keeper out, but I think in that situation, I mean, who am I to tell Viv about how to score goals? I mean, it's just nonsense. But in that, I think Viv would have been better off taking that ball closer. I think she could have done that and then a better chance. As it was, she took it from far out. It went wide. But the key thing is straight from this moment, Arsenal get the opening goal for Freedom Arts and Mornham. And I like this goal for a lot of reasons. And it almost was the blueprint for how Arsenal were going to play for the entirety of the contest. And I was making some observations from where I was sat. So I was sat on the, what was Arsenal's right wing, so Man City's left wing in that first half. So we had Emily Fox on my side of the pitch and Lauren Hemp. And as I said earlier, the striker and the wingers like to push really high up and press. And what I really liked about Arsenal, I really commended, was their bravery. They wanted to try and pass around that Manchester City press. They wanted to lure them on and pass them around. So you had the defenders would pass on to the goalkeepers would put their foot on the ball. The likes of Bunny Shaw would run onto them, trying to press, and then they would try and pass around. And what was interesting is they would then ping out onto a wing. Let's say Emily Fox. We know Emily Fox has got a really good engine. She can bomb down the flank. But the strikers weren't running back. And while I'm quite conditioned with like watching Arteta ball with the men's team, and the idea is, I mean, there was another 2-2 draw at the weekend. We saw the Etihad, and certainly in the second half, it was even more obvious. But when with Arsenal, if they lose the ball when they're pushing high up, the entire men's team stream back into their own half and get into a defensive shape. What I found interesting was that the strikers weren't. The strikers were staying where they were. It was like they were sort of relying on the rest of the team to do the defensive work for them. And I thought this was like maybe laziness, like we saw with some of the old, again, not trying to draw an analogy of the men's team, but we could think of a few players when they're like, a few years ago, Arsenal, who just wouldn't run back and help with their defence. But apparently it's actually a tactical plan, is just the full committal of strikers in your position for this press. They don't ever chase back Man City forwards. But what it meant was with this huge gaping space to run into for likes of Fox and Ford, they combine really well. And what I like with this goal with Ford is that because Man City have got short of numbers, we've got in defence, Ford hasn't really got anybody to take on, and so she takes the cross first time. She doesn't try and run to the byline. She doesn't try and take on a defender 1v1 step overs. It's just instinctive whipped ball into the box, and from there it's carnage. Stina tries to obviously convert it bounces off her. Frida makes that late run for the midfield, and it was some finish.
There was a little bit of carnage as well, because the ball's bouncing as well. It's taken a couple of deflections before Frida's got to come running in and taking that shot. I'd have to actually say a huge well done to Caitlin Ford, because that first opening minute, I think she tried to go and beat the player, and it doesn't end up. I can't even remember who's on that left back at the moment. I think it might have been Leo Harvey. And Leia just wins the ball off of it quite easily, and it is becoming a case of you're becoming predictable again, and it's how do you deal with that? And if she's doing the first time cross, it's chaos. The defenders are stepping back, because they're expecting the player to come inside and then play the ball. But to do that, that's caused the chaos. That's then meant that they've sort of lost their heads a little bit. That's where your leaders sort of help out the situation, and it just really didn't. And again, the fact no one was picking up Frida, she was a loose player in the box, and to be able to score a goal like that, to open Emirates account.
She's made a good start to the season, Frida. Obviously, she got the winner against Rosenborg and opened the scoring here. And it was a bit of a throwback to sort of the Arsenal 2 seasons ago. I mentioned about the whole Stina-Frida combination. You had Stina sort of making those darts forward, occupying the defenders, giving more space for Frida to make her driving runs, which is where she's so effective. It's that, running onto the retreating defence. Do you think this is we got our Frida back after what was not a great. She wasn't so great previous season.
I think it's going to take a little bit more time. It can't always be yes or no. I would say if she continues playing up towards December, I'll say yes, because then they have the break and then they're going to come back. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. The problem is form can swing left, right, and centre. So it's not always going to be yes, Frida's on fire. The only reason Frida was on fire that season was because she had to be on fire. If you think about it, the way that everything ended up, and she did extremely well and called player of the season. I think pretty much from Arsenal, the Supporters, and I think there was another one as well. She got for the player of the season as well.
She might have been. I think she was nominated potentially for one of the members of team of the season. I think
team of the season or player of the season. Yeah, and it was just a fantastic season. And
I think it highlights the folly of writing. Sometimes we're too quick to write off players. I think it shows the folly of, last season it wasn't great, and some people might have thought, move her on, she's not good enough. And she's come in this season and she scored, 2 crucial goals already and looks more like the 10 or attacking 8, however you wish to position her on the pitch, that we profited so well from those seasons ago. Obviously, great for us in the stands. The atmosphere's up for it. It's a nice early goal. I think it was only 8 minutes on the clock, so it was an early goal. And we'd had all the trouble with scoring at BK Häcken. This goal happens. Think, right, okay, we're on form, we're in sync, and it so nearly became 2-0 very soon afterwards. Arsenal again. This was a ball over the top for Stina to run onto. What I'm liking seeing Stina, which is how she's able to outpace her defenders. Her movement has been really good. We're so used to Stina being caught offside. It was so good to see her able to beat the offside trap and meet the ball. And the keeper runs out to try and close it down. She gets it wrong because Stina gets there first. And I just think in this situation, Matt, Stina just makes the wrong decision in how to execute the shot. I don't know about you.
I think it was great play all round. The fact that you fooled the goalkeepers and forced the goalkeepers to come out that far, and she's had to backtrack. The goalkeeper's
draw her
panicking.
Out of the box as well. Get her out of the penalty box, which she can't use her hand, which is crucial.
She's panicking because she's got to sprint back to the goal because she's left it unattended. No one's on the goal line. It's just, I don't know if Stina's knocks it too far wide or she needs to take another touch and just bring it in. But it's one of those where it's a tap in, it's a free goal, and you miss. It's going to be one of the ones that will end up on the blooper reel for the end of the season. But it's one of those where you think if you're going to count moments back at the end of the season, you're going to go Stina. If that's the difference between second and third, or fourth and third, for example, that would be that's the moment we could have easily gone 2-0 ahead.
Yeah. I mean, there are obviously the season is relatively long, and there's going to be more twists and turns ahead. And to pin an entire season on one moment, I don't think is fair. But it's quite easy to do that, and it did feel like a crucial moment. I mean, for me, she had to flick that over the goalkeeper's head. It's a bouncing ball, and we saw her. Last season, I think the ball she didn't flick it over the goalkeeper. The ball actually bounced over Cara Keating's head, and Stina just had to roll into an empty net. I think in this moment, as the ball bounces up, all she has to do is just flick her foot at it, and she gets it over the keeper's head, takes it round the keeper. And when you do that, you have to score. I mean, did you think when she took the shot did you think she'd done it?
I thought she had, but then again, you forget this is Stina, and you don't know which Stina
I think, do you? I mean, we'll get one shot. I think back to that game against England when she was 1v1 with Earps, and it went wide in that moment, and I thought, she's not going to score.
This is definitely going in, and she somehow pokes it wide, and you're thinking.
I mean, in that moment, I was at Wembley for that one. I didn't think she was going to score that one, but I thought she'd done it on this one. I was just sat there waiting. I see the keeper's out of position, the defence is running back. They're almost looking on helpless, just waiting at the ball to cross the line, and it hits the side netting. And I felt bad because we missed a chance, but also I remember last season when Kim Little missed that penalty at Meadow Park, and that was a chance to go 2-0 up. And I felt in that moment, we got to win the game now because we can't miss a penalty in the game and not win. It's terrible. And I don't know when we're going to get that next chance. And my fear was, on this game, we've missed a really big chance. We're not going to get another chance like that to go 2-0 up. We need to go 2-0 up because Manchester City, they sort of, I don't say fallen asleep, but they just sort of stopped becoming a threat after the Miedema miss. They didn't. I think they had one chance. I think McKay blocked at the near post, but they weren't like cutting us open at will and making good chances. It was us making the better chances. I think Mariona had an effort that sort of just went over. Frida as well had another one. She was driving into the box. Stina opened up the space. I was talking to friends, and I think it was with some of our Dutch friends over, and Frida had the opportunity to play Stina through, and she didn't. Frida took the shot, and why didn't they play Stina through? And I'm thinking, did you not see a few minutes ago when we tried to do just that, and what happened? But I really like what I was seeing. We didn't score the second goal, but I really liked the way that we were playing. We were exploiting the flaws in the Gareth Taylor ball Manchester City setup. We were drawing them on the press. We were bypassing that press. We were exploiting the space in behind, and it was just the same old questions you've been having since the Rosenborg game, since the BK Häcken game, and since pretty much most of last season, which is just not being ruthless enough in that final third. And of course, as always, if you don't take your chances, you are susceptible to freak moments, and this was a freak moment. And unfortunately, it's another contest between Kim Little and Vivianne Miedema that Kim Little loses. And I think there's something you wanted to pick up on that.
Yeah, it's very unusual that Kim Little loses the ball on the edge of the box in a battle. It's a strange one for me. You don't really see that, and I don't know if it was fatigue or it was just a lack of concentration. But she just loses the ball a bit too easily, I think, for a lot of people. Usually Kim's quite strong, especially with those 1-1s. You're expecting that to twist and turn the opposition. Viv, a very difficult marker, shall we say, because of her height as well as the way how agile she is on the pitch. So it was going to be an interesting 50-50, but I don't think many people would have thought Kim would have lost the ball and then trip over, and Viv to have that opportunity to take the ball, nick it on, and have that shot. The shot is deflected in the end, isn't it, by Cadena. It's a bit unfortunate as well. There's nothing you can do about that, and it's just.
I mean, it was inevitable that Viv was going to score against us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was. She was always. She was not. It was not going to be. There was no way that Viv was going to come to Emirates Stadium and not score a goal. To be honest, I thought she was going to come off the bench. I was quite surprised she actually started, because obviously she started away in Paris, but Gareth Taylor opted to pick her to link up with the attack, and along with, I think it was her, Viv and Jess Park sort of operating as like twin 8s in front of Hasegawa, and then obviously the front three of Shaw, Hemp and Fagino, rather than Chloe Kelly. I thought they looked quite sharp with Fagino especially. So do you think though that the clash between Kim and Viv, because it was quite frustrating, because it felt like there was the ball kept bouncing around. At some point I just felt somebody kick it away, it just wasn't quite sticking. Do you think that's a fault on Kim Little, or do you think we just have to say that's just Vivianne Miedema being Vivianne Miedema because she is that good and just she can outplay Kim Little, who we know is one of the finest midfielders the WSL's ever seen? Is that just because Viv's just Viv?
Well, it's a 50, it's a 50-50, isn't it? I don't think there's one person you can blame, or you can say, I think what should have actually happened is another player should have come across and just helped out. That way, 2-on-1, you don't allow the shot to come in that easily. I think it's that the thinking behind it is, Kim's got the ball, Kim's got it under control, and the next minute she's on the floor. And it's like, what do we do now? And there wasn't that. I think that there was a delay in the response to go. Someone wasn't, whether it was Kyra or it was Leia or Lotta, just behind the ball, just behind them, just say, I'm here if you need me. But then again, I think there was other players coming in that being marked, that they were marking. So it was very well intelligently done by City. But you mentioned City with all their attacking progress. I did bring up when we talked to Caroline is the defensively sound structure of City, is it as strong as other teams this season? It doesn't look like it if you've only got one defensive midfielder.
Yeah, I think you raised a good point. I think they are very top heavy. I think they've got a lot of depth in the attack, but they haven't also got much at the back either. I think they're going to rely on overpowering the opposition with their attack. And let's be fair, it's a very good attack. There's a lot of talent in there, so we shouldn't write that off. But I also think showed, they're going to try and overpower people with their attack and to sort of mitigate for any potential weakness they've got in the back. But Arsenal showed that if you can bypass that attack, which they did quite well in the first half, they are gettable. Especially, obviously, they've lost obviously one of their main defenders over the summer is Steph Houghton, although I think by that point she was very much a squad player, sub player rather than a leader. But obviously, we're now maybe seeing the effects of that. My big frustration with the goal is that it was just the freakish nature of it. If it had been a simple, a crosser header or a well-worked move with a well crossed and a tap in, you go, it's a great move. The fact that it's such a freak goal, and the fact that we'll get on to obviously some of the other chances, but our strikers having clear-cut opportunities and missing them, and then Viv having a shot just which is not clean or clear-cut, getting a wicked deflection and going in. You're just thinking that's the kind of luck our strikers need. How is that happening to Viv and not happening to us? That's just not fair. This was just on the cusp of half time, but there was still time for one more chance. Arsenal win the ball. I think it's Ford robs the ball on the flank, works it quickly to the middle. There's a really good quick through pass straight for the defence, and Stina is in behind again. She races onto it, and it's 1v1 with the keeper again. This time she doesn't try to go round the keeper. She tries to take the shot straight at the keeper. Is this good goalkeeping, Matt, or is this bad striker play?
When you're in front of goal and you have that opportunity, you need to take it. You need to make the goalkeeper work. If it's straight at the goalkeeper, it's not really any work for the goalkeeper. It's just making sure your body's behind it. There's been a couple of goals, not just in in professional football, shall we say, that where I think the one in Spain where the goal, actually in the Champions League, I think it was a couple of weeks last week, easy ball to come and claim, the goalkeeper's it's gone straight between the goalkeeper's legs.
Yes, I think it was Jerome, I think it was against PSG, 90th minute. Yeah, I mean that was a poor one. That was like a daisy cutter kick played straight at the keeper and it went straight through. It was awful.
It's things like that where it's a bit of lack of concentration on the goalkeeper. This one was, if you're hitting it straight at the goalkeeper, try and do what Katie does. And what I mean by that is make sure they've got too much power on it, so that and there's nowhere for them to actually get enough time to react when she hits it near side past the goalkeeper.
For me, in that moment, Stina's run onto it, and her first touch when she meets the pass, it isn't good enough. It's not clean. You'll see that she doesn't have the ball under control. It bobbles a fair bit, and I think that takes her closer to the goalkeeper than she needs to. I'd also say the goalkeeper does very well to close down the angle, because if you watch the replays, there isn't really anywhere Stina can actually place the ball looking for the corners. The keeper's come out well enough to sort of block the angle. And so Stina's just gone for power. And I think it's a kick and hope. She hasn't really had the clarity of thought in the situation to instinctively know what the best opportunity is. She's just swung her foot at it and hope it's going to go in. The only way it goes in that position is if she takes it through the keeper's legs, and that's take a bit of precision. If she megs the keeper, it goes in. Either side, no. So in that sense, she's either going to go through the legs, she's got to try and get it over the keeper. Well, it's not a bouncing ball, so it's a dink. And if you do that running at speed, full power, it's every likelihood it's going to go straight over the crossbar. For me, in this moment, I think a better option would have just to carry on the run and take it round the keeper, do what she did earlier, and I think they would have given a better chance. And I think it's just, again, it's the incorrect shot choice, the incorrect decision making in that final third. In the first episode, should have lobbed the keeper, tried to take it round it, didn't take her round her, didn't work. This time, just took the shot, should have taken it around the keeper. And it was just another unfortunate thinking, that's another chance down the drain. We're not going to get any more of these really good chances against Manchester City, because at some point they're going to wake up and they're going to sort this out, because we're cutting through them way too easily. Gets to half time. What were your thoughts, Matt? Were you an improvement over the Champions League midweek and happy with the playing, or was it sort of disappointment that we really shouldn't have been level?
I think it was one of those where you take it, but you need to make sure that you do something different than you've done in the first half. If you take that 2-1 up, I think you go, right, okay, make sure you don't concede within the first 10, 15 minutes. It was one of those where I think the game was just swinging from left to right. You didn't know which way it was going to go.
Yeah.
And it was a great advert for the WSL as a whole.
It was the game of the weekend. I'm really glad it didn't disappoint. I think, but there was an opening day. I think it was in 2018 when they went quite big on put some of the big games on first game of the season. So they had the reigning champions Chelsea against second place Manchester City from the previous season, and that was like the opening game of the WSL. I think it was at Kings Meadow rather. And it finished 0-0, and it's like, oh, that's a real disappointment. This wasn't that. We had, Viv, the narrative's obviously Viv coming back, goals at both ends of the pitch, and really good play from both sides, and a goal each. My feeling was just we're bleeding chances here, and I couldn't see us just that happening second half. We had to take something because I don't want to be in a position where we lose our opening game of the season again. So we need to get something from this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester City got another one, which obviously they did. We'll get to. Obviously, second half, I was really impressed with how we started the second half. I thought there was a really good sort of energy and intensity of play. We really went at Man City trying to get that second goal, and we did get that second goal, but it was chalked off for offside. Matt, was it offside?
I think the problem was it was on the actual cameras. You couldn't tell whether or not you could tell she was offside, but it wasn't until later when it was on social media you could actually see that. I'm still unsure whose leg it is because she's very well hidden. But there's a leg keeping her onside, and it's one of those where it's just a shame, but it's a naked eye error, and it's one that you can sort of take with a pinch of salt and go, oh, okay, there was a little bit in it, but there's not much.
It was so marginal, incredibly marginal. I think the pictures show that she was onside, but I sort of have some consolation because when I was in the stadium, my instinct was that she was off. I think a lot of people watched it and the stadium thought, yeah, she's offside. And if you look at when the goal is scored, well, when the ball is in the back of the net at that moment, forward is offside, and that's your clue thinking, yeah, okay, defence is pushed up, we've been caught out. It's a nice little cross in behind by Frida, so very clever sort of bent ball around the defence, and Frida stabs it in, whistle immediately goes, flag goes up, it's offside. I think the players thought they're offside because none of them protest, none of them, stick their arms in the air, protest, plead. It's okay, yeah, I was offside. I think Ford probably thought so as well. And I thought that in walking away from the stadium at full time, I thought, yeah, it's a fair cop. It was only when I saw the pictures, and there is that you can just see that slight pixelation of a defender's leg that might have been playing Ford offside, because I think even the foot's there, but Ford is slightly leaning towards the goal, so she might have been leaning over the foot. Of course, it opens up the Pandora's box of, oh, well, if only there were VAR. We may get to a point when we talk about the fact that we're probably quite glad VAR wasn't involved. And, give it with one hand, take it with the other, shall we say. This is the problem with, I think I can sympathise with the official for getting the call wrong, because I got it wrong as well. It's kind of one of the ways I can describe it as is if when you watch University Challenge and you're watching watching on TV, and you guess a question, you get it wrong. But then the team that's playing also get it wrong, so you don't feel as bad. You think, oh well, obviously I wasn't as far off as maybe I thought. And in that situation, I think it's the same. It's like, well, I thought it was offside, and if I thought it was offside watching it, and I think you thought it was offside watching it on TV, it's that close of margin error that you can sort of say fair enough. If she'd been, let's say, 2 yards behind the defence and been flagged off, I think there would have been a lot more anger about it.
That has happened in the past.
Yes, well, yes, and it wasn't that offside. It was an offside I could go, yeah, fair enough. It is a shame, because one does wonder, you get the early goal in the second half, could that have kicked the team on? As it happens, it didn't. What sort of happened was it went the other way. Man City grew more into the game. That sort of took the wind out of our sails. They started getting their crossing game working a bit better. And then, of course, we had to talk about it, probably the best goal of the day, and one of the goals I think will go down as one of the goals of the season. And it's a player, of course, you know very well, Matt, of course, from my time at Everton, which is Jess Park. We did talk about her on the preview show, that I think this is going to be her season where she can sort of really make her mark, and she certainly made her mark on this game.
Yes, and I think it will be interesting now because it'll be between her and Jill Roord. And with Jill Roord coming back from her ACL, you don't know how she's going to react. If she comes back as the same old Jill Roord, or she could end up being in the sort of mold of Viv, where she takes it a little bit while. There's a couple of setbacks here and there, so she's not able to get back as quickly as she wants. Jess Park is going to be one of those players that you're looking at, and she'll be one of the ones that you look at and think she could be starting for England.
Yes.
If you look at that England midfield, I would probably say Jess Park is probably better than Ella Toone in some ways than she is. But that's a lioness talking. Jess Park, she's got that potential now. I think the ceiling hasn't been hit yet. She's still quite young.
What do you think of the goal? So it's quite. We should say with the goal, it's a cross comes in, it's headed clear. Jess Park, I think, has got to cut back to goal. It's a one touch to control the bouncing ball, and she swivels and hits a volley. Now, what I would say is it's keeper's side, but it's executed so quickly and so accurately that Manu hasn't got a chance to sort of react to it, because she's only just seen the ball because Jess Park's done it on the turn. Whizzes past Manu. Everyone in the stadium is hoping, she is hoping, it's going to go over the bar, it's going to hit the bar. It does hit the bar, it bounces down, bounces up, goes in the roof of the net. It's a brilliantly executed volley. It's a fantastic bit of technique. What about you? What did you think of it, Matt?
From the goalkeeping side, it's one of those where it's a 50-50. You kind of hoping that it's gone over or it's gone wide, but it's gone into the back of the net. So I'm not blaming Manu for that, because it's not her fault. It was well struck, and if you go from when she shot to when it's in the back of the net, I think it's only roughly about less than 3 seconds.
Yeah,
that's not enough time to get over there and make that sort of save. I don't think Manu would have been able to get there in time, even if she did. It's just so well executed. Again, it's a bit of a goalmouth scramble as well. But again, I'm going back to the same old of no one's rushing out to try and clear the ball. Usually in Sunday League and further up, when it's out, get it out. As soon as you get it out, everyone says push and you all go up. And that didn't happen. And I think that was a bit of frustration, because you see that all the time. If it was the other end of the pitch, if it was Casey, if it was, I'm going to say Kyra, because Kyra's got a good shot on her if she does decide to shoot. They're the sort of ones where you go, well, if you don't close them down, they're going to shoot, because there's a 50 chance that it goes wide, or a 50% chance that it goes in the back of the net.
There did seem to be an element of vulnerability on the edge of the D in that regard, that the Manchester City were able to pick up a lot of knockdowns from initial crosses. Our defenders, likes of Lotta and Laya, were very good at clearing the balls into the box. There was a clip in the around on socials of a ball swung in. Shaw's got onto it. Cody has managed to get there and get a foot on it and hook it away, literally off Shaw's toes to stop what would have been a certain goal. So I really like the way we dealt with the ball aerially, with the crosses coming in, because we know that's Manchester City's bread and butter. They want to whip the balls in onto Shaw's head. But it's those knockdowns, as you say, Matt. It's on the edge of the box. It's mopping up the second ball and preventing them from cycling the ball back in front of a cross, or, as you say, having a shot on goal. Jonas did react, ran the substitutions. Mead and Russo came on for Stina and Ford. So it was a change in attack. I felt a bit sorry for Stina. I thought she did a lot of good work in the first half. I think in the second half her influence waned a bit. Maybe because, again, she's only just coming back into the side. She had an injury during pre-season. She's only just getting back to full fitness. But Russo, again, we know the quality Russo has. And Mead, I thought, was a very intelligent choice because, again, she's probably one of our better finishers in the team because, we know she likes scoring on opening day. I think after what happened on this game, I think she has the record most amount of goals scored on opening day. So the substitutions in that sense made sense. It was certainly in a way to try and improve the attack. I thought Ford had actually had a pretty good game, actually, up and down that wing. But Mead is an upgrade on Ford in that situation. But I don't know if I'm saying for you, I felt when that Jess Park goal went in, I felt we lost control of the game. And I don't think those first subs, we'll get on to the later subs, which did have an effect, but Russo and Mead coming on in that situation, I don't think it helped. I think we lost control of the game. And I think, if anything, Manchester City were closer to getting an extra goal and going 3-1 up.
It did look like those subs were pre-planned. So no matter what had happened, they were going to come on the pitch. I think that goal probably took them by surprise, and it took them a bit longer to react than they would usually. I think when you go back to other games where we're 1-0 down, there's usually a reaction within the first couple of minutes, or even say going back to the Conti Cup final last season when Ramirez scored that good goal, even though it was VAR and things like that. There was an instant reaction. They went on the front foot to go forwards, and for the next 5 minutes, you couldn't really touch the Chelsea couldn't really get a touch on the ball, and it's just if it was going to be one of those games where the ball was always going to be dominated in not at certain times by certain teams.
Yeah.
I think the goal flipped that, but then again, I think the substitutes helped quite a lot because it was getting back into it. Let's wait for the opportunity, and the opportunity did come.
It did come. So I think there was about a 10-minute spell where I think Manchester City had us under the cosh, and they didn't kill us off. And I think that was the opportunity to do so. I think they were getting a lot of turnovers. We weren't retaining the ball. Ball was going long, and they were picking it off and working towards our goal. Manu was making some good saves. I think Viv had a shot that she was able to bat away. I think Shaw had some opportunities as well around there. But then we made another set of substitutions, and I think these are the ones that turned the game, and that was taking off Cara Cooney-Cross and bring on Leah Velti, and taking off Frida and bring on Rosa Kafaji. Just want to quickly, we'll go on to obviously what happened after this, but I just want to get a word from you, Matt, on Cara Cooney-Cross. How did you think she did on the day?
She is becoming a lot better from what I'm seeing. And after last season, where I said that she was one of those players that I need to see more of because she didn't get the minutes. She's now getting the minutes, and she's becoming slowly better because of it. And I think in this league, it really suits her because she's able to develop not only with the game itself, but she's developing in her own way. She's not a wild card where we slack bang, bring her on last 10 minutes to go. She's given her own time to develop and be able to dictate what she wants to do in that game. If she wants to be that defensive midfielder, then she can do that. If she wants to be playing further up, then she can do that as well. It's not all about you're playing one position on one position only. I
think at the moment with the developments going on, I liked what I saw on the weekend. I should say, I thought in the first half the way she was distributing the ball. I think some of the defensive work was good. I just think this game, the way the game state was, it wasn't for Kyra. When we'd gone 2-1 down and we were chasing the game, it needed somebody with a bit more experience in that midfield, someone who knew how to turn a game like this around. Kyra can become that player. I think this was the perfect time to introduce Leah Velti, and I'm really glad that Jonas did. I thought it was the right choice to make. Bit more experience. Kim and Leah Velti know each other so well in that midfield pairing. There's an element of sort of familiarity there, and I think that really helped turn the tide. And of course, Rosa Kafaji coming on, who obviously had a big impact on the equaliser. Again, a really smart move. Used slightly differently as I expected, because obviously it was a like for like. I thought it was going to be a like for like for Frida, but we actually saw sort of Rosa and Mariona sort of flip flop between the 10 and the wing, which was quite interesting to watch. very
That's
quickly.
what I'm going to really like, though, is that
Yeah.
effectively, if you have Beth, you have Mariona, and you have Rosa, all three of them can rotate.
Well, we
So-
had that 3 against BK Hacken, and I think we saw them maybe flip wings occasionally, but we didn't. I don't think we got that level of movement. Maybe we'll get that
further down the line.
Yeah, further down. Well, I mean, I was going to say Thursday night, but yeah, further down the line. We did get a chance, a very good chance, and this was the moment I thought we were going to get the equaliser, and that was a ball pinged over the top. The defender, I don't know if it was Kennedy, but the last defender misreads it, and Russo raced on it. She's clean through, gets the edge of the box, and it's so bad. I mean, the pain in the crowd. We're thinking this is the moment. Russo's going to put us, get us a 2-2, and the comeback starts now. Because I think it was like the 80th minute or something like that. It was pretty or 70th minute, 75th minute, something like that. But yeah, it was a pretty poor effort. It was pretty much a pass back straight to the keeper. What would you think she was trying to do?
I think she panicked, and that's nothing against her. I think it's getting back into the mindset of what I need to do in those situations. It's very unusual to see Alessia race through on goal like that. A lot of her goals are usually in the box. You get the odd one where she will score outside of it, but it's very rare that she gets that through on goal chance. And I think she panicked. I think a bit similar to Stina in that first half. But I think looking back at it, Kelly Smith's not going to be happy. So I think there'll be extra shooting.
I think so as well. Again, I think it's decision making in the final third. It's overthinking rather than being instinctive. I think Russo needs to know immediately what to do before she gets there, and just do it. I think in that moment, the ball where she gets the decision point is wrong for her, because she's almost a half a touch away, because if she takes another touch, the ball's going to end up with the keeper, or she's going to be too close to the keeper.
The goalkeeper's actually close on the 6-yard box, so I think there's plenty of time for her to take it a small little touch, and then that sets her up for the shot.
I think the near post is out of the question. I think the only way she can score there is a low drive, and it's going to be hard to beat the keeper's dive. A low drive towards the far bottom corner. That's the way you score it. I don't know if he was maybe trying and place it for the keeper's legs. Whatever she was trying to do, I don't think she was going to score. Watching it live, it looked like there was a pass on for Rosa, because obviously she was running in on the left and thinking, maybe a pass sideways and a tap in. But watching the replay back, it does look like the defensive numbers are just about there to cut off the pass. And I think if the pass was made, I don't think Rosa's getting there in time. I think Rosa needs to be a couple of paces forward. Obviously, needs to remain on side. But I just think she's just too far away in that moment to meet a ball across. We will come on to the goal, but just before that, I went to mention with the substitution, there was another substitution, a key one, and that was for Manchester City, and that was the removal of Vivianne Miedema to be replaced by Mary Fowler, and she got a rapturous, I think, applause, despite obviously she got the equaliser. There was a lot of discourse online about, how will Viv be welcomed back to Emirates Stadium? Will she be applauded if she scores? Will she be applauded if she was substituted? I don't think there was much applause when she did score, but it was nice to see that the crowd honoured her departure. I thought that was a very nice touch.
Yeah, that was the right thing to do. Obviously, the goal's a bit of a freak of nature, so you don't expect to be sort of cheering that sort of thing. But yeah, it was a nice moment. I think she really enjoyed it. I think she also, I know it was a bit weird to talk about now, but post-match there was a lot of love for Viv, and it's nice to see that. You don't see that very often when old players do come back to come back with their new team.
I mean, I think Gareth Chair said in his post-match press conference, this was a game that Viv wasn't looking forward to for obvious reasons. You could say that these things are random, or the way these fixtures are they're completely random, or have maybe the powers that be for what will get the bigger views in. Not just because it's a big fixture, but because of the narratives. Let's put this game opening billing of the season because it will draw in the bigger crowds. And I think we had a decent crowd on the day, and I think plenty of people tuned in to watch it. The good thing is now the whole Viv return to Arsenal, that's done. Okay, we got everyone. The narratives, those watching, she got her goal at Emirates Stadium on her return. Great, she's had a time playing against Arsenal. She's off the pitch. that can be put to bed because it's happened. And, the first game of Arsenal was out the way, thank goodness. Arsenal did thankfully get an equaliser. We spoke about VAR and the offside of Caitlin Ford. This is the other side of that coin. There's a coming together, shall we say, in the midfield, after which Katie McCabe retrieves the ball, flicks it over some prone players, plays a really good pass, it should be said, to Rosa Kafaji, who races in behind. And what I'm liking about Rosa is that her first thought is forward. It's impact. It's not take a touch. I mean, we talked about like first time crosses before. It's not take a touch. It's just in that moment, bam, how can I change the game? In that moment, the options were there, and she says, I'm going to have a shot. Now, it looks like a ludicrous decision, like to shoot, because the angle is ridiculously tight. But the fact is, the cross wasn't on because there were not the players in the box. The player happened so quickly, the likes of Mead and Russo hadn't made it into the box. And the keeper is just, for me, is a fraction too far away from her near post. She's trying to anticipate the cross so she can intercept it. And Rosa spots there is a window of opportunity for the keeper near post. It's very clever. She goes for that gap. She just gets it wrong because it comes off the post. But crucially, it bounces into the danger area where Mead and Russo have now finally caught up with play. The Man City defence are stranded. And I think Mead knees the ball into the top corner. There's the equaliser. Beth Mead scoring at the Emirates, as she always does on opening day, as she does. Matt, what did you make of this one?
Well, the initial thought was there was Katie makes the foul initially on Chloe Kelly.
Yeah, I should say, was it a foul? Okay, I should say, was it a foul?
It was a foul, and the referee did say it was a foul. Well, if the referee said it was a foul, why didn't they blow the whistle? That's the only thing I can say about that.
So I heard on this one. I think the ref. I think the ref said it was a foul, but the official, on the line, overruled the referee and said it wasn't.
Okay, whatever happened, it's just Chloe Kelly's looking for the foul. Everyone's expecting the foul, so everyone's sort of half asleep. And what's also happening is because Chloe's gone, Kim's gone over to go and help Katie out. Katie's then fallen over Chloe. And then the ball's just literally rolled towards Katie, and Katie's just sort of done the intrusive thoughts win here and just chips it over and just carries on a run.
Yeah, plays the whistle. So what I say?
You can say it's clever. You can also say it's a bit naughty and dangerous as well because she has to jump over players. But
yeah,
that's just Katie letting her intrusive thoughts win that day. But it was just. It was a great move, and the fact that there was such a delayed reaction, City didn't realise what was happening before Rosa has the ball. As soon as Rosa has the ball, they're all marching over towards Rosa, and they don't realise that Alessia and Beth are making their moves into the box, and that's what probably sells it a bit more. I think that's what also helps is Rosa is very chaos.
Yes,
and she thrives. The fact that whether or not she scores is if she scores from that impossible angle, that you go, wow, hands up, stuff. Fantastic. The fact that there's a little bit of luck and it's clipped the inside the post and then come out and Beth's just there to bundle it home, whether it's a head, knee, shoulder, not an arm, otherwise it would be a handball.
Well, we would assume.
Yeah, we saw that last season with Stina. But yeah, I think that it's just one of those goals that you think, you know what, you look back and go, it was chaos, but it was. I think you love it because of how chaotic it was, and it was a fantastic opportunity, and it was a fantastic moment. And when you take charge of those moments, they're the ones that fans remember, especially if you're in the stadium that day. You'll go, oh, do you remember that game? They're saying, oh yeah, Rosa Kafaji hit the post and Beth Mead bundled it in.
Yeah. It's funny you say chaos because I think the most chaotic player I can think of in our team is Stina Blackstenius. So Sue saying that is making me thinking that obviously because the Swedish connection there as well, having Kafaji and Stina linking up on the pitch and just being equally chaotic. Now that is something I now want to see. So thanks for that. It was the equaliser. It was 2-2. I think it was about 10 minutes and then another 7 minutes of injury time. There were no more goals. To be honest, I think the most likely scorer after that was actually Manchester City. I think they came actually back at us to try and retake that lead again. They couldn't claim it. At that moment, Matt, you get it back to 2-2. Are you thinking, let's just lock it down and take it now, but we don't want to lose it again? Or are you thinking, go for another one?
I think you're in your mind as a fan. You go, yes, you want to go and get another one, but
Oh, really?
yeah, I think
I'm a lockdown. I'm like, take the point. Let's get out of here.
I think the sensibility for Rain that day is the fact that he saw that back line and everything and went, right, okay, that's it, no more.
Yeah.
And it was great to see, and it was just I think it was a fantastic way to shut the game out.
Yeah.
Was just to say no more after that.
On balance, fair result, 2-2.
100%.
Yeah, again, you don't want to lose your opening game, and especially at Emirates Stadium, and especially on the back of obviously what happened in the midweek against Häcken, which we'll get to in a bit. The second leg, which is coming up Thursday night at Meadow Park and live on the Arsenal Player. Yeah, I thought it was a really good performance. I really enjoyed what I sort of watched. I was a bit annoyed about the finishing again, but I always think with the things, what I'm like is that we are creating chances, and that's obviously, if you're at least creating the chances, the goals will come. It's just when the strikers hit their form, and hopefully they will on Thursday. So we'll move on to Thursday night at Meadow Park. It's must win. We're going in with a 1-goal deficit, so we've got to win by we've got to score at least 2 goals. Or win by a 2-goal margin. If it's a 1-goal margin, it will go to extra time, and if nothing else, it will go to penalties. Let's hope we don't have to deal with that. If we lose, we're obviously out of the Champions League. So worst case scenario, it finishes 0-0. We go out of the Champions League again. It's League Cup group stages, trips to Southampton, Charlton, London City Lionesses, Spurs, or Reading, whoever. Well, we're not Reading, actually. They're a minute's pause for Reading. I hope we see them again soon. But yeah, trips around the country rather than obviously on the continent. If that happens, does Jonas have to walk?
I think the sentiment along the fans is that he does. I've always put faith in the manager first.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like we're slowly moving away from that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just said, right, we're going to stop your contract there and then, because that's not good enough. It's then, I think people have already speculated who's going to be the next manager. And I think that if the worst thing happens with say if we lose 1-0 on the night or draw 0-0, and don't make it through, I think Jonas is gone. I think a lot of fans have made up their mind he's gone, because it's not good enough.
No, I mean, again, I think it also depends on how you go out. If there are 25 disallowed goals for unfair reasons, and then they score a goal of a 90-minute knock us out, you go, okay, something's gone wrong here. You can't put that on the manager. But I mean, the performance away at Häcken, Jonas has said himself, it was a backward step, and I think we could all agree with that. It wasn't. We didn't play the way we can. But I have said since, if we, go and win 3-0 at Meadow Park, play a routine win. It's never a routine with Arsenal, obviously, but if we were to win, 3 or 4-0. That away leg in Häcken will be completely forgotten because we'll be through to the Champions League and no one will complain. I think back to when we lost 1-0 away in Bayern Munich, and it was we lost away in Bayern Munich. That was a good
atmosphere that day.
It was that was a great trip to Munich. Obviously, we both went to that one. But then second leg, home, Emirates Stadium, we won 2-0. Frieda scored a screamer. Stina scored the winner. We went through 2-1 on aggregate. Nobody cares that we lost in Germany because we went through. So it didn't matter. So hopefully it'll pan out like that. That what happened in BK Häcken will be immaterial.
You do bring up a good point though, because we've been in these positions before.
Yes, yeah, that's my hope. Is that there is an element of we can turn around deficits in Europe. We've done it before. We'll have to do it again. We'll go into score predictions a bit, but do you think Arsenal will do it though? Do you think they'll win it?
Yes, I think lessons will be learned, and I think with what's happened against City, I think we're going to be more up for it. The only issue, it's more of a worry to see how BK Häcken are going to be because they haven't had a game.
Yes, so they haven't played over the weekend, but this also, what's interesting is that the score line sort of half dictates, well, I say dictates, but they're left in a sort of a bit of a confusion, a quandary, shall we say, is do they think we'll sit deep for 90 minutes and hold, play the Alamo and hold out and play for the 0-0 and give us a 1-0? Or do we go for it, try and get that security of another goal, and leave ourselves a bit more exposed. I think they will sit deep. I think they're going to try and ride out the 0-0, but I think that might work against them because I don't think that's Häcken's game. I think Häcken's game is to be more offensive. I was surprised that I don't think they were as offensive as they could have been in the away leg, but their home leg, our away leg, but they got the result. They held up for long enough and were able to pick us off on the counter when we got a bit too desperate. I think they will maybe try to do that again, or do it even more so now they know they've got something to defend, and it's not going to be like what it was on Sunday. So we're not going to get those big open spaces to run in because obviously the way that Man City set up, it's going to take patience, and I just think it's so crucial we get an early goal. If you get a goal within the first 5 or 6 minutes, you've got the North Bank behind you cheering you on, especially you're shooting towards North Bank in the second half. If we get the flip of the coin right, that for me is critical. Don't allow the defence to build up confidence, because we saw that against Häcken in the previous leg. We had a few strong chances early doors. We didn't take them. It gave the defence confidence. It became harder to play against them, and then eventually got us on the counter. If we can get the early goal, we can build up some momentum. We can get that scoreboard into a safer position for us and go from there. We haven't had any press conference or notes from Jonas yet. That will happen close to the game, so we have a chance to hear where the squad is. We don't know if Leah's going to be fit. With that in mind, Matt, what's your predictive team?
Well, I think we'll go Manu in goal. That's going to be the same. I think we'll see Fox on the right. I think we'll see Katie on the left again. That's only because I think Steph's still not 100%.
Steph's still out, yes. Steph, I would say this situation, treat Steph and Lena as out. So I'll have them off the table as available. And
same as Leah, you take Leah out because she's with concussion at the moment.
Yeah, assume that she's out.
That's Leah and Lotta as the centre-back partnerships. I think we might see the return of the Kim and Leah pivot. That's nothing against Cara. I agree. I think experience in the situation. I mean, Kyra's done well. I like what Kyra's had a really good start to the season. I just think in this situation, it's stick with what you know. And Kim and Velti, I would back to that double pivot. I would back to get us over the line, 100%. I think I'm going to go with Mariona as the attacking midfielder and have Rosa on the left.
Okay, yeah.
I think we'll see Katie on the right to start with, and then I'm going to say, I'm going to say Stina. Sorry, not Katie. Caitlin.
Oh, Caitlin, yeah, forward. Yes, forward on the right. Yes, forward on the right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Stina up top.
Okay, so that's interesting. Because one of the issues I had with the Häcken away leg is that the way that Jonas changed his attack, and then he said afterwards, "Yeah, well, that attack hasn't played that much together." To which I'm thinking, but why? That seems a bit of a strange choice. But now he has sort of played some different options. I think if you were to play a Ford, Mariona, and Rosa, however you want to play that three, I think you start with Russo. But if you want to start with Stina, I would use Frida in the 10 instead. I think that would just again the problem is it makes sense to start Frida, but it makes sense to start Stina off the bench. This is all the quandary you've got. You're not going to get those two aligned on the same page.
So if you have Frida as the attacking midfielder, would you have Mariona on the left?
I'd have to have Mariona on the left. I would have. It's either got to be Mariona. It's going to be Mariona on the left, and I would start Ford. I think having Beth on the bench is a really good option. I would start Ford. I think she's just about done enough to hold on to a place on that right flank. I know Beth got the late winner. I think Ford is okay enough in this. She's done a lot of games on right wing already. She was in the qualifiers, and in the most of pre-season she was starting that right flank. So she is pretty comfortable there, and she obviously was great for the opening goal against Manchester City. So Ford on the right, Marion on the left, and I would go Frida Stina as the sort of 10-9. If Russo were starting, I would put Kafaji at 10 instead. But I think for me, Russo and Kafaji off the bench and Mead off the bench as well. That would be the way I play it. But who knows? What we do need, obviously, is our strikers to score. I mean, it sounds, goals win games, obviously. If our strikers score goals, we'll be absolutely fine. I've got no qualms. Steena's the kind of player who could miss like 2 sitters in the game and the next game score a hat trick. And then we're all going, great, Steena's back. We've seen it happen time and time again. So it could well be it's something like that. It's going to be a tough night, I think. Well, it's certainly tough going into it. We're all going to be very nervous because I think our season, we're only in late September, and I just feel like our season is on the precipice as it stands. If we get through this game, I think everybody will just sort of relax, go into the season. We got all our ducks in the right places. We're working on we just started with WSL in the Champions Group stage where we want to be. We're in the hat for the draw. Start, planning out our plans in Europe, but we've got to get past BK Häcken, and they are going to defend that 1-0 lead with their lives. Here's hoping the Arsenal can triumph once more. Before we say goodbye, just leaves me to say, Matt, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me at MattLR28.
And where can we find the pod?
You can also find the pod at VAW Pod.
Absolutely. You can find us on the Twitter /X, and you can also find us on Instagram, where we'll be putting up some very snazzy graphics, which I'm hoping you're all enjoying. You can find me at AdamSalter4 on Twitter /X. You can find me at Adam_Salter4 on Threads, and you can follow all things historical of the Arsenal women at the AW Archive. The Arsenal Women Archive, plenty of clips of games gone past, going up on a near daily basis. So do make sure you give that a follow so you don't miss a single game, and enjoy a bit of Arsenal nostalgia, and maybe see a few games you may have missed, because we've got a lot of history to get through and there's much to be celebrated. And hopefully, speaking of history, there'll be a bit more made on Thursday night, hopefully with an Arsenal win and another chapter of Champions League group stage. It's there for Arsenal if they want it. Just need to score a couple of goals, and then we can all start putting our course for the season to come. So good luck, Arsenal, and come on, you Gunners.